So for couples at home who are not going to have the resources to find you, or just, they're on the other side of the world, are there any kind of tips that you can share about how around like communication, or how to get started with, getting real and doing this work?
Yeah, empathy, empathy, empathy. It's the beat that's missed in repair more often than anything else. And empathy is where you don't just parrot back what somebody says, like in like nonviolent communication or something like that. What
The
I hear
talking
you
stick.
say
Yeah,
is,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's like you have to actually take a moment and realize like your partner's different from you, and to put yourself in their shoes, not think like, what would I do in this situation? But what does somebody who have their particular wounds and fears and needs, what's going on for them? And then you want to say it, you want to say like, I get that when I, need to ride my motorcycle 3 weeks out of, the summer months, that you feel really alone and scared and you don't feel like you're prioritized for me, or whatever it is. That's like the individuation moment versus the attachment moment. Like, to actually see that, like, what's wrong with you? How can you can't be more independent? Like, what's wrong with you? You don't care about anybody else but yourself. Those are the kinds of ways we shame
Mm,
individuation and attachment needs, instead of going like, wow, I can see like you really need this time to yourself, and I get how important that is to you, and it's really hard on my nervous system, or like I it, I do want to express that part of myself, and I can see how much it impacts you, right? Like, to actually like honor that both of those things can be true at the same time, and to empathize with the other person's experience instead of just presenting your case and
yes,
shaming the other
yes.
person for their needs.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like learning to not be so selfish, but not in a way that I was kind of taught, which is more like, you stuff your own feelings. It's like, no, you have your own feelings, but they don't get to trump the feelings of the other.
Yeah, and maybe when you everybody starts empathizing, then you start taking each other's feelings into account, and you can see you have an impact even if you wish you didn't, and then you start to make better decisions that include everyone. That doesn't mean that everything always works. Like, sometimes people are
Mm,
too far apart on their needs for it to actually be compatible, but that's not somebody's fault, and it's not a failure. And it doesn't mean they don't love each other.
mm, mm-hmm,
you know?
mm-hmm. So, I mean, you're obviously not working with couples, coming from a place that we want everyone to stay together. What is your angle, when you're working with couples? What are you wanting for them?
Yeah, to me, that's like focusing on the structure versus the connection. I do want every couple to have ongoing loving intimacy with each other, have ongoing attachment if that's important to them. But if it's not working for them to be in a romantic partnership, then maybe
Mm,
they need to shift into some other structure. And maybe they need a break in order to, like, reorient around not needing all of those things from that particular person.
mm.
But the way that people break up in this culture is so sad. And I did it so many times, and it was like heart-wrenching and painful with people that I loved. And it was like, oh, this isn't working. I hate you. You fucked everything up. It's like, as opposed to like, wow, this just isn't compatible, but I love
Right.
you.
So you mean like people break up and they're like, they think, oh, we're in a breakup, we're just throwing this whole thing in the trash?
Yeah, and like splitting up the friends and trashing each other
Ouch.
to the
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like fighting over the
Oh,
kids and making them pawns in the situation.
I know what you mean. When I was newly divorced, I was going out with new divorcees. Sometimes still am. But they would just freely trash their ex-wives.
Yeah.
Needless to say, that was the last date.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on here? Like the level of unconsciousness is insane.
Yeah, you're like, I'm next on the list to be trashed. So,
Yeah, exactly. I can't wait to be in her position. Really.
exactly.
P.S. This is a really interesting conversation. I can't wait to hear more about what went wrong in your marriage.
Right.
Uh, yeah, no, I like that perspective. It's like, what is good here? What can we preserve? What can we parlay or evolve in different ways? Now, when it comes to sex, I feel like broadly, sex in marriage, broadly speaking, there are two schools of thought. One is, you sort of let it go. Like if I was just having lunch with a friend, she's like, neither of us want to. We've been together for ages and it's quite nice. We don't want to. And I'm like, great. But she felt that sort of pressure a little bit, right? Some people think it's fine to just go with the flow. I kind of do. But there's a whole other school of thought, which is like, you should be having orgasms. You should be keeping it hot and spicy all the time. Like, how much should couples work on sex? Should they work on sex?
So again, I'll say people are different. For some people, sex is a very high priority, including myself. For other people, it's not, they would rather garden together. So
Yeah.
I just don't believe in should. And I don't believe one size fits all. When I have a couple in front of me, I'm like, what are your priorities for yourself? What are your priorities for yourself? I'm working with a new couple right now where he's very sexual and she has no interest. Like I even said, like, go masturbate and see. It's been a really long time since she has. She's like, yeah, I did it. I can do it. Not really of interest to me, not a priority, and so it's like, okay, so how do we work with those differences in needs and not, again, see it's like nobody's failure, nobody's fault. What are the different options that you have in that situation and how do you pursue those and take care of each other in the face of that, or not, right? Like whether it's just feeling your disappointment and deciding you're not going to be sexual for the more sexual person, or outsourcing honestly and negotiating that in some way. I don't have an agenda for which of those you choose. I prefer that people don't choose stay and build resentment. I find that one to be quite toxic.
I think I'll just stay and be really, really unhappy and take it out on you.
Many people make that choice.
A lot of people make that choice, don't they? Well, I think it's been well modeled, right? It's been well modeled for us. We've seen it.
Modeled.
I mean, I think about this a lot that we don't have. I mean, we've got shows and movies, which we've already discussed a bit, are kind of problematic. We don't have a lot of good real life examples of really like amazing couples. It's certainly something I always feel on the lookout for. I'm always really thrilled when I meet. I mean, I build it up in my mind. I'm always like, they're such a great couple. And, you find out, well, of course, there's all sorts of problems, but I love seeing good couples. I love seeing love. I love seeing people being respectful to each other and kind to each other and helping each other out. I want to see that modeled at large. And I just don't, I think, we get given the parents that we're given and it's sort of random. It's just like, here are these two random people and they're going to be your gateway into the world and they're going to like inform your attachment patterns and they're going to, and there you are.